How the narcissist takes people for granted. Think about that for a minute. Everyone, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and share. So, taking someone for granted, I touched on this recently in a couple videos. What it means is when you think that somebody will always be there. It's when you think that somebody's always going to do something for you. It's when you can count on somebody and you know that they're going to do the right thing. When you take somebody for granted, that's never a good thing. Because if you do that and somebody turns out to actually wake up and figure out that they are being taken for granted, well, then they could be gone. And that maybe is who you are. Maybe you're the person who removed yourself from the toxic narcissistic relationship before you could be discarded. And if you were, my heart goes out to you. Way to figure it out before most of us. For the rest of us, we were trapped in that narcissistic abusive cycle and we most likely were discarded. Discard's not what you want to go through, but then again, you do not want to go through a narcissistic relationship. These are the worst kinds of relationships known to humankind because nobody knows the abuse you're going through other than yourself, which is why this is the relationship you need to heal from. The narcissist has nothing to heal from because all they do is slither off into the darkness and go try to creep into somebody else's life and infiltrate that. You have to heal just like myself. That's why this relationship has changed you. Your perspective, your mindset, your energy, the trajectory of your life, how you look at humanity. You've learned about empathy, narcissism. You've learned all about mindset. You've learned about energy. You've learned about purpose, focus. You've learned about trust. You've learned about integrity. You've learned about commitment, resilience. I could keep going on and on. I could probably mention another 300 adjectives if I wanted to. But having said that, why the narcissist always takes people for granted is because when they get people in their sights, I'm talking about the narcissist, they usually administer something which is known as the love bomb. Now, does everybody experience the love bomb? No, they don't. Sometimes the narcissist just comes over like a bulldozer and starts beating people up. I'm talking verbally or emotionally. My hope is it wasn't physically, but this is what the narcissist does. There's all different types of narcissism. There's the somatic, there's the communal, there's the cerebral, and on and on and on. I don't really get into those kind of types of narcissists on the channel. I paint a bigger overview, which is this. Once you identify who the narcissist is, you need to get as far away from them as fast as you possibly can because these people don't change. They only deteriorate over time. They only get worse over time. And the narcissist is always trying to add to their tool belt of abuse. They're learning and figuring out what works with certain people. And they are also comparing their real life experiences with abuse with other toxic narcissists. And I'll prove that point to you right now. And they're getting an upgrade in their level of toxicity or manipulation. Now you may say, how is that possible, Andrew? Well, it's pretty clear. Think about what not only movies and TV shows and all these kind of entertainment avenues are. What they are usually for you or for myself before we knew what narcissism was, a movie or a show or a program would be a escape from reality for a few minutes just to unplug and wow, that's somebody's life. I can't believe that actually happened to somebody. You have to be kidding me. Well, now you know that your real life will dwarf any Hollywood script because it is your real life, which is why you are here in the community and which is why you have a couple of guests. And this is why you are becoming awakened and aware, educated, and empowered. But as I mentioned, what the narcissist does, if they're watching those same shows, let's say it's a documentary, or let's say it's some really nasty show or some suspense or thriller or horror, or who knows what it could be. Well, the narcissist gets ideas from these. And you know what? Comedy as well. Because the narcissist is always trying to figure out what the next move is. They're trying to figure out the next trap they could set. They are trying to master their skill set even more than they already have, which is why these people themselves, i.e. the narcissist, they are headed to a place that you were headed towards for a period of time, which was Destructionsville. The narcissist will always overplay their hand. They will always take people for granted. They will always use, abuse, manipulate people. They will always trick and trap people. They will look to keep that invisible leash around those people's necks or ankles or arms or wrists as long as they possibly can to extract what is known as supply. I've shared this many times recently. What is supply? Supply can be anything that matters to the narcissist. Example, a pet can be supply. A plane fare can be supply. Being hung up on can be supply. Snow can be supply. Your hair color can be supply. The way you look at somebody can be supply. If the narcissist is late, or if they made you late, or if they blew up your graduation, or didn't attend your wedding, or weren't there for the birth of your child, that's all supply. The narcissist needs supply to exist, not to live, to exist. And there are two types of supply. There are negative supply sources and there are positive supply sources. You are the positive supply source, as am I. That's why you are a beautiful, bright, shining light, just like I am. Your energy is priceless. Your mindset is pristine. At least my hope is it's becoming pristine again. The clarity is returning to you, and you're understanding that you were in a vortex. You were in a relationship from hell that was continuing to trap you further and further deep in the pits of the narcissistic fog. Having said all those things, the narcissist also needs negative supply. What is negative supply? It can be verbal abuse. It can be slamming a cabinet. It can be using F-bombs or being derogatory to other people or putting people down. Or, I hope you're going to play this part of the video multiple times, if the narcissist can take a beautiful, bright, shining light like you and twist and turn you inside out so you become negative and you now are believing what they were selling you, yes, the narcissist was selling you, then you could become a negative person. That's what the narcissist wants. The narcissist wants you to give up hope on yourself, to give up hope on humanity, to not believe that tomorrow will be a better day, to believe that nothing will ever improve post-relationship, or that this is as good as it's ever going to get for you. You need to understand the narcissist never had your best interest at heart. They didn't back then, they don't now, and they won't in the future, which is why you need to go no contact, to block that person, delete them, remove them, and all flying monkeys and people associated with them. If not now, when? Now, going back to the thumbnail, as it mentioned, why the narcissist takes people for granted, it's because the narcissist realizes that there are 8.3 billion people on the planet, and they can interchange any one person for a period of their day, 24-hour period in their life, with another person like that, because they don't care about people. This is why, as long as the narcissist has a living, breathing human body near them, they're satisfied. They don't necessarily care if that person has all the money in the world, or maybe they're not the smartest person. If the person is giving them the time of day, there is supply for you. You need to recognize this. Many times post-narcissistic relationship, we, the people that were discarded or who were trapped in the narcissistic abusive cycle without even knowing what it is or what it was, we believe that the narcissist is off living their best life with a new person or the new supply, and it's all puppies and rainbows and snickerdoodles and snowmen. Well, that's not the case. The truth of the matter is the new supply, whoever they are, and I've shared this for years, they're one of three people. One, a toxic person themselves. Two, a recycled source of supply who hasn't figured out what narcissism is, or they're not strong enough to go no contact. Or three, they're a clean slate. You were a clean slate, so was I. So anyway you cut it, the new supply is either peppering the narcissist with abuse or playing the narcissist, or they are being played and being peppered themselves. But there is no such thing as kumbaya. There's no such thing as togetherness. There's no such thing as fulfillment or growth or transparency or honesty. The narcissist and the new supply by no means are snuggling it up right now and checked into a motel for the next 3 weeks and just looking at each other's eyes and bathing in a pool of bliss. That's not happening. What's happening is there are doors being slammed. There are glasses being broken. There are people being triangulated. There are phones being thrown at the TV. The TV's being punched. There are rage fits being thrown left, right, and center. There are sources of supply being compared. And that person who I'm illustrating right now, and they do exist, meaning the new supply, they are being taken for granted. And you may say, well, that's all correct, but how do you know that? I know it because I was trapped in the cycle myself. But on top of that, when you're the new supply and you don't realize what's going on, you are now you're now out of the love bomb / euphoric stage. You're now being devalued, which is when you are being taken for granted. And the new supply, eventually, if they're not toxic, or maybe even if they are, but if they're not toxic, they're going to try to get back to the inception or the beginning of that relationship, which is known as the euphoric stage or the love bomb stage. What they don't know is that is unattainable. It will never happen because it was a facade. It was a house of cards. It was a beginning of a relationship built on quicksand. The narcissist knows that because the narcissist sold the new supply a bill of goods, but the new supply is now being taken for granted just like you were. And the new supply is about to go down a very nasty road that's going to get darker and darker and darker. And the new supply, my hope is they figure it out eventually, whether they end it themselves or they're discarded. Any way you cut it, my hope is they see that little light at the end of the tunnel after they're out of that relationship, just like I did and like you did. enough about the new supply. When you were taken for granted, the narcissist knew who you were. Remember, they knew who you were long before you knew who you were, because you had not developed your sixth sense of discernment yet. The narcissist has a sixth sense, but it's not of discernment. It's of a predatory instinct. Picture the narcissist as a predator in the jungle or in the rainforest or in the forest or in the mountains, wherever. And well, they're looking for prey. Who was the prey? You were the prey. I was the prey. The prey were people who were vulnerable, naive, trusting, committed, wearing their hearts on their sleeves, had a high level of empathy, and didn't know that narcissism existed. Now we know it. So you and myself are headed towards that mountaintop, that pinnacle of indifference, or we've arrived. We already see what we couldn't see before, but most people, when I say most, I mean most. I'm not saying 51%. I'm not saying 61%. I'm not saying 75%. I'm saying higher. And no, I'm not going to give you a number right now. But most people have no clue what narcissism is. It's not until it's too late, when you are chewed up and spit out and crumbled up like a sheet of paper and thrown away in the freeway by a discard, that you know what's happened to you. You don't know what narcissism is. That will take time. But once you've been in the cycle, you know it. That's why this has changed your life forever, as it has changed mine. And again, I'll side note, pro tip. Many people claim that they know what the narcissistic abusive cycle is, and they know all the answers, and they have all the courses and all that. You better be careful with who you are getting your wisdom from. Yes, you, the person watching this video or listening to it. Because if you've been in the cycle, I personally can finish your sentence like that, inside and out. There's not a doubt about it. You may be able to do that with me, but don't be so sure that all the quote unquote experts know what they're talking about when it comes to narcissism, because it is a hot topic. It's been a popular topic for over 5 years. And that topic, or that popular topic, is beginning to be replaced with other topics, which I'm not going to mention. But the point is, remember this expression, wolf in sheep's clothing. That's all you need to know. That's what the narcissist did. So whatever wisdom you're acquiring, make sure it's coming from a viable and reputable and known, trusted source of wisdom or education. I prefer the word wisdom because that's what I've acquired. I also have the education, which means I am a student and a teacher. I am more of a student than a teacher, but that's why I create videos every day, to pay it forward, because I want to teach you and help you get answers to the questions that perhaps you didn't even know you had, and to help you give yourself closure. Because why? Because the narcissist won't give you closure. They won't give anybody closure. They want to twist the knife in people as deep as possible and have those people stay stuck and trapped in the narcissistic abusive cycle or mindset. Essentially, the narcissist wants to live in people's minds rent-free. And that's what they had been doing successfully for quite a long period of time on this planet, until recently. And recently, that's when we all, not all, but that's when many of us, or some of us I should say, cracked the code, found the needle in a haystack, and figured out what narcissism was. And I'm one of those people. And I too was taken for granted. When you're taken for granted, that's not a good thing. That means when you were being taken for granted by anybody, that means that they knew that you would drop whatever you're doing to help them out, probably to your own detriment. Well, again, that's not what we do these days. That's what we did back then. Remember, we, meaning you and myself, we used to treat everybody the exact same. If somebody had a fire, we couldn't run to put it out fast enough. If somebody had an issue and we could help them, we would do it. If somebody was blaming us, we would take that on. If somebody tried to guilt us, we would take that on. If somebody said that we were A, B, and C, we would think about it and say, well, maybe they're right. Well, that's the old version of us. You need to remember, there are 3 versions of you. The first version of you was that one I just illustrated, a person who was naive and vulnerable and didn't have the education or the wisdom on toxicity and narcissism. The second version of you was the person you became when you were trapped in that narcissistic abusive cycle. You were existing in that narcissistic fog. And yes, you were being taken for granted, just like I was. The third version of you is the strongest, most galvanized version of you known to humankind. That is rarefied air. Just like you heard those birds cawing a little while ago. Well, that's rarefied air. That's where I am. That's where either you are or you will be once you heal and heal properly. But we, the people who have healed, we now come first, second, and third. And why I say that, and I've coined that expression, that phrase 5 years ago, is because we were taken for granted most of our lives. We didn't realize that other people were using us. We didn't realize we had a high level of empathy. We didn't realize that we were empaths, some of us. I did personally, but maybe you didn't. We didn't realize that other people were just looking at us, smirking, laughing, mimicking us, teasing us, taunting us, knowing that we would always do the right thing. We were flailing. We were helpless on this planet called Earth, thinking that something's got to change, something's got to give. That person was nice to me a couple days ago, or when I first met them, they seemed so nice. I wonder what happened. Well, what happened is the people you're considering, and some of them I'm sure were narcissists, maybe not all of them, but what they did is they saw you and they realized how you continued to give to a fault, how you could not see what they were doing, how you maintained your high level of empathy, and how you continued to be the best version of yourself. Well, something broke, something gave, and something snapped. And that was the ending of the narcissistic relationship. And when that ended for you, your whole world was turned upside down, and you were left shattered in 1,000 pieces. You didn't know what had happened. It was as if an atom bomb just blew off in your mind and all around you. That's my experience, at least. Well, then after time and after all the hundreds, if not thousands of hours of crying, of meditating, of journaling, of healing childhood wounds, of watching videos, of reading, etc., you put yourself back together, and then you realize, I am different. I'm completely different than anyone I've ever met. I have a super high level of empathy. I've been trapped in the narcissistic abusive cycle. I made it out. Just those two things in and of themselves are monumental. Not everybody, quite the opposite. Very few people are a true, natural, raw empath. Yes, we do exist. For all of you parasites who think that empaths don't exist, you don't know what you're talking about, and you have a lot of work to do on yourselves. But I digress. Going back to being an empath and being trapped in the narcissistic abusive cycle, those are two huge things. One of them you can control, the other one you couldn't. But now when you're out and you reflect and look back at where you were and how helpless you were and how vulnerable you were and how much you were taken for granted, but not just by the narcissist, by all the flying monkeys, all the enablers, all the people who were drinking the Kool-Aid that the narcissist was pouring. There were dozens of those people, if not hundreds, and they were all swarming around you, trying to get a bite of you, trying to plant seeds and try to see if they could trip you up or slip you up or get some dirt on you. If they couldn't get dirt on you, they would make it up. And yeah, that's what these freaks do. But having said all that, you're different than everybody. Now, when you're in the third version of you and you realize that you've been to hell and back, but you maintained everything about you. As a matter of fact, you're now galvanized, like I shared earlier. You're in the third version of you, the strongest, most galvanized version of you known to humankind. Very few people will ever make it to that spot. Again, this may be going over your head. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, you need to play it and play it a few times. What I'm sharing with you is not everything is how it appears to be on this planet, number one. Number two, you need to control what you can't control. Number three, you need to get toxicity out of your life. Number four, you need to stop being taken for granted by anybody. That's the cleaning person. That's the person who details your car. It's the person at the coffee shop. It's your sister. It's your mom. It's your brother. It's your dad. It's your adult children who perhaps are maybe a little toxic. I can't tell you who it is. And by no means am I saying everybody is toxic. They're not. There are great, and I mean great people out there on the planet. There are incredible human beings on the planet. But most of us that I've worked with, we were trapped in a cycle known as, yes, you got it, ding, 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 the narcissistic abusive cycle. But we are out and we are healing. That's what we are doing. That's why the collective consciousness or the collective conscious is getting stronger each and every day. That's why you are breaking the chains, the four ties, if you will, the emotional, the financial, the physical, and the spiritual tie. As you cut those, you get stronger. As you get stronger, you're taken for granted less and less. As you get stronger, the narcissist gets weaker. As they get weaker, they can't get anything from you any longer. And when you cut that final tie, you realize, I did it. I'm out. I made it. I beat the narcissistic abusive cycle, a cycle I didn't even know I was in, a battle for my life, the test of a lifetime. And I'm not being taken for granted by anybody ever again. That day will happen if it hasn't happened for you yet. You need to understand something. Once you realize who you really are, I'm talking about you, who you really are, and that on this planet called Earth, there is so much abundance out there for you. There's so much opportunity for you. There are so many possibilities for you. There are so many things that you can do. You can take a class, teach a class, read a book, write a book, travel the world, fall in love again. You can sleep until 12 in the morning, or you can stay up till 4 a.m. You can do whatever you want to once the narcissist is out of your life for good and you've closed the chapter of the book on them. Things improve exponentially. Now, do they improve overnight? No. Do they improve after a day? No. Do they improve after a week and so on? Yeah, slowly. You have to rebuild. You have to get the toxicity out of your energy field, and you have to replace it with the abundance, with the beautiful, bright, shining light that you have naturally and organically within you, just like I do. The narcissist doesn't have that. What the narcissist has is a bottomless pit filled with fear, filled with anxiety, filled with uncertainty, filled with misdirection, with misrepresentation and misinterpretation intentionally. All of these things encompass two things. On this planet, we have two powers. One is the dark side. You should know what that is by now. And two, we have the good side, which is you, the beautiful, bright, shining light. The good is beginning to win on this planet. You may not see it, but it is. You may not think it, but it is. You may not feel it, but I do. You see, I once was where you are or where you were. And when you're trapped in a narcissistic abusive relationship or cycle and you don't know what it is and you don't know how to get out and you're feeding the abuser all the information of what you're thinking, that is a very perilous relationship to be a part of, to say the least. Because all you're doing is giving them a pipeline of how you're feeling and what you're thinking. And they're just sitting back there saying, all right, well, I need to turn to page 74 of the Narcissistic Playbook and gaslight them for 3 hours. When that's done, I will go away on a girls' weekend for 3 days, and I will make sure my phone is unplugged, so they'll be calling me and texting me. When that's done, I'll come back and act like everything's great, a little love bomb. Then when that's done, I will go and ask them for another $10,000. See, it's a loop. It's a cycle that the narcissist is trapped in. When you see it, you can't unsee it. When you hear it, you can't unhear it. When you experience it, you can't unexperience it. That's why this relationship has changed you forever. That's why you are no longer being taken for granted. And that's why the narcissist will always slither off onto unsuspecting or recycled people, taking them for granted eventually until it all backfires in the face of the narcissist, because that's what will happen. It's happened way more than you'll ever know. It's happening right now, and it will happen again tomorrow for the rest of their lives, because the narcissist knows one speed, and that speed is full speed ahead, and they don't care who they have to harm. Truth be told, they target people to harm to get whatever they want. And once they get what they want, they don't want it any longer. These people are sinking ships, they're ticking time bombs, and they know what they're doing. So everyone, that's the video. I hope you liked it. I loved doing it from the beautiful Carolinas. This is Andrew. Namaste. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning. No matter where you are on the planet, you're not alone. I love you all. God bless you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. And what a absolutely fantastic and gorgeous day it is today. I hope you like the background. To me, with my non-perfect vision, this background looks absolutely spectacular. I hope it looks as good for you on whatever device you're watching the video on. But I want you to understand this, and I'm going to close it. You shouldn't be taken for granted by anybody ever again. You were in the past. I was too. People mistook your empathy and your kindness for weakness. That's exactly what they did. Same with me. When you thought that everyone else thought the way you thought, and you thought everyone else had your best interest at heart like I did, well, they kept on giving. Then you met the narcissist, and boom, everything went sideways. The ship in the ocean was capsized, if you will, at the hands of the narcissist. And they had another ship they jumped onto, and they didn't think your ship was ever going to continue to float. But yours did, just like mine did, and you made it to the shore, and the rest is history. You're healing, or you've healed. But you cannot be taken for granted by anybody ever again. That's why you need to trust your instincts, trust your intuition, pay attention to red flags, embrace green flags, and continue to focus on yourself and continue to elevate and ascend higher than the sun, the moon, and the stars. So everyone, that's the video. I hope you liked it. I will be in a new location tomorrow, and I hope you're enjoying yourselves, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Bye.